Uh, All right, let's go ahead and get our Thursday, January 5th Town Council Work Session going. Welcome, everyone. So let's do a call to order and also pledge allegiance. DB, can you lead us in the pledge allegiance? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible. Thank you, sir. All right, second item is Ken. We'll do public comments. I'm not sure if our one guest has any comments at this moment in time. Nope. Not yet. Well, we'll come back if we need to. All right, let's move right into the business items, but I do want to do a sidebar real quick. And I just want to update everybody on the fire. There's been a lot of activity with our building over there, DPW. And I'm going to give you a little breakdown, and then DB is going to turn his mic on and get it close so he can give you an update. So as we know, we had a fire department of Public Works in North Beach, Huntingtown, Dunkirk, and Anne Arundel County fire station showed up. They did an amazing job. I think between the construction of the building by Stallings and also the fire department, they saved us from losing that whole building. We believe we know the cause of it, but Legit has a person coming out to look at the cause and the origin. We pretty much have it narrowed down to the electric vehicle called Jim. It was just repaired 2 days before. What is a Jim? Oh, I'm sorry. Local Government Insurance Trust. Apologize. So that's who we have our town insurance through. So when we have a disaster, we have any type of storm damage, or sadly we have a fire. The night of the fire, a lot of staff members were there. A lot of council members were able to get there. That night, Stacy filed a report with Legit and was on the phone with them probably about 8:30 that night. They have been great to work with so far, but we're really at a point now where the board up has taken place. The area that was under fire has been cleaned up except for where that vehicle, and I don't know what Jim stands for, I apologize, but it's a small like golf cart, but it's electric. And we've had it for 4 years, roughly, give or take. Never had a problem with it until that night. So everything's boarded up. They started to clean out. DPW had a container delivered today to start moving the tools into it. We do not know the conditions of some of our equipment. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to DB. And then if you have any questions for him, it's going to be a while before the good news is it did not affect our water or any of the work the Department of Public Works is doing around town. It did not hold up anything. We're still running and gunning. So DB.
Like the mayor said, I'd like to thank the fire department and also thank everybody that reached out. Fire department was a very quick response. I had a neighbor that lived across the street from the Public Works building. She called and said, Donnie, please get up here quick. I heard an explosion. Your building's blowing up. And within probably 2 minutes, the chief of the fire department called me and told me he was on site and was asking for the code to get in the gate. And it's on. Okay. And he was asking for the code to get in the gate in a couple minutes. I'm not even, probably within 10 minutes, they started, fire department was there and started putting out the fire, which I think saved a lot of our equipment and a lot of our building. The section that was burnt for y'all that been over to the Public Works was the rear section where we keep our equipment stored, the 3 bay doors facing the water tower. As the mayor said, luckily, with the construction of the building, we have a firewall that protects the office space from the rest of the shop. And that firewall did its job. We didn't have any damage in the office area from the fire itself. As of today, like the mayor stated earlier, the insurance company that came down that and boarded up, they have came in, mitigated, cleaned up what they could. We're waiting for the insurance company's fire inspector to come do the final decision of the cause of the fire. We did lose a control panel for the water station, well one right at the shop, and that water station also turns on and off the one at our second well at Greenwood Avenue. But I'd also like to thank the county water and sewer department. They called and asked if they could do anything to help or if we need anything. And I said, well, actually, if you have a spare control panel laying around, jokingly, we could use that to put the well back online. And their electrician that works for water and sewer came up with enough parts where we came up on Friday, we're able to dig up the existing power going in the building, intercept that power, run it over to the water well station. And we made up a control panel and got that online. And we got the mission system, which is my automatic dialer type PLC system that turns on and off the well and lets me know what's going on. We got both of those things back online Friday. So we, with the help of them, we were able to get that, the water, we had enough in the tower to sustain us that night. And then about midday we could run the Greenwood Avenue well in hand, but since it was a holiday weekend coming up, we wanted to get it back in automatic, and we did get back in automatic by Friday afternoon, Friday evening. So that was done. We did have our sewer cleaning machine in that bay. That was to the far side of the fire. We pulled that out today. We did start that up. It does run. I think you can use it, the plastic tank that holds the water that for the cleaning, that did suffer some damage from the heat. It kind of melted, shrunk down. But if we had an emergency clog or something, I think we may be able to use that. Right now, what I'm doing is getting estimates for the factory reps where we purchase equipment to take it up, have them look at it, have them go over the whole machine, and then we can, get with the insurance company. We can say, yeah, it's damaged, not damaged, but we can get a professional opinion on, if it needs to be replaced or whether we can just service it and maybe, put it back in service with just a couple repairs or tank type stuff and a good service on it. We had a couple other major items in there. We're working on trying to see what condition they're in. I also send them to factory reps, and then we'll be updated in the next week or so. As the mayor said, we're kind of we have the company coming in Saturday. They're going to vacuum out all the insulation that's in the middle bay where a lot of the council members are standing the night of the fire. That didn't receive as much fire damage, but it did get a lot of water damage from the hosing down, and they had to make sure there weren't any sparks or whatever. But so the mediation part, the company will come in, they'll vacuum out all that insulation. Unfortunately, that drywall will have to be removed also in that section of the shop. And then we'll be at a waiting point for the estimates to come in for the repairs and before we can go any further from the insurance company and from the contractor that's looking at doing the repairs.
So we did receive a lot of phone calls. Chesapeake Beach Mayor and I spoke a couple times, and their DPW was on standby to do whatever they needed with us. Calvert County, every commissioner, county administrator reached out. Many other municipalities that heard about it on the news or on social media. So as bad as it was, we came out probably in a good position if we had to go through that, because we not lose the building, but also I tell you, the community stood up. I mean, it was amazing how many people showed up and was calling it. Do you need any help? How do you stand? So just stay tuned. We're going to update you as we get updates. It could be weekly, it could be every 2 weeks, but as we do make improvements, we'll get information out to the public, and we also update all council members. But right now, we're in a slow period right now. So you have any questions for DB before we move on? All right. So tonight we're going to discuss some budget adjustments. Next week, we will present it. In the following month, we will introduce, excuse me. Yes, introduce and then vote. Apologize. So tonight you have the information. Tonight's not the only night you can come back. I think Joe did an amazing job detailing it, to explain it. Tonight is for you to ask any questions, but also you have all the information. It's out there on board docs also for the public to look at. But more importantly for tonight, if any of the council members have any questions that comes to mind, we can address it. And then we will bring it to introduction next week. So Joe, I'm going to turn it over to you at this point. If you can move the mic over to you, that'd be great. Just so everybody
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I've provided you with a packet and I try to make it as simple as possible. What we're dealing with currently is the adjustment column. And I've labeled the adjustments as like A1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you'll find the number to the side. And some significant changes are like the bump in tax revenue from the tax billing. There's a $22,000 increase. That happens because the state sends out the notice for the constant yield in February. But by the time we get to July, when the billings actually cut, things have changed. So that's why the little bump in revenue, which is good.
So on your notes section, you have the notes. And then to the left of you see A1. And then you can follow from page to page where she has A1, A2, and you can just follow along to see. You can click on it and so forth. So I just want to make sure we're all on the same page following along. Thank you, Joe.
Okay. And we're only touching general fund, sewer fund, and capital. And capital's minor, sewer is minor. The bulk of the items are under the general fund. Okay, the A2 is on page 4, and that you have to flip a few pages, but that's where the source of the revenue is going to come from. I did not make any changes to the other revenues as of yet. I feel confident that gambling revenue is going to be a little bit higher than it was last year, but again, we'd rather err to be conservative. If things occur correctly, we may have other adjustments that reverse some of these in the future for the revenue. The bulk of the revenue will come from the general reserve fund. It's $105,724. The other items are expenses that I can go through with you in detail. Some of them are small, but they just needed to be included because we hadn't had a budget item for it. There was a little bump on, if you look at A4, little bump in the board docs, which is a service we provide for the public and for the council. So that was necessary. There was a need for a temporary employee for extended service. We have a current situation in town where we know a certain employee is going to be out for an extended time. And in order for us to continue to operate, we need to have this person in a temporary employed during this period. So that's in addition to the wages that we pay. A6 is increasing code enforcement salary and zoning, which is Rick, from 32 hours to 40 hours a week. And that's a little bump. It adds up to about, I think it's 13,000 total by the time you put the fringe in. But we'll get to that if you have any questions. And then A7, that was Bayside Fire. It was an emergency repair at Town Hall. That's the bulk of that number. And if I remember that number off the top of my head, Bayside Fire was about $4 to $5 grand. That wasn't anticipated. And it had to do with the alarm system for the elevators and those type of things. And then there is a new line item that you all are aware of. Due to certain issues, we've had to adjust and create what we call a security line item. And included in that are some of the things like the glass restructuring at the lobby area, the button for the elevator, signage, lighting around Town Hall, those type of things. So we created a specific line item for that, and that's what that is. Legal counsel, it's kind of self-explanatory based on the other events. Due to current events, we have to increase it. And we do expect a hourly increase for FY24. So just so you know. We at A10 is to cover a new web-based accounting system. It's the last of the programs that need to be online so that we can retire the server and then reduce some of the costs that we have with Just Tech. So this is the last part of that. And then A11, I had to increase the IT budget based on Just Tech's still on board because we haven't moved as expeditiously on the software as the mayor would have liked, but time didn't allow. There's A12, and what I want you to do, I'm just gonna read through these, and then as you go through your material and you have questions, send me an email, give me a call. We have another work session the following month. You know, it's an opportunity if the mayor has one, or you can do it at the council meeting. Ask me a question. Callis Park, there was resurfacing done at the Callis Park area. If anyone who has small children's been over there, you know what kind of condition that was in prior to the repair. And that wasn't in the budget, wasn't a budget item. And then Donnie had two unexpected things that were not foreseen. One was a replacement of the split system at the Public Works building. And who would know that those things are so expensive? But it wasn't anticipated and it wasn't repairable, so it had to be replaced, and that's an added cost. And then safety equipment based on an OSHA review. I put OSHA review, but it was more like when the JIT came down, didn't it? And they did safety.
We had,
You want?
now we had a motion inspector, we had an incident in a neighboring town and we had a motion inspector visit, but I thought it was a good time and, they didn't find a whole lot of problems here in town, but we had all new employees at Public Works and we kind of went over some ideas and thought it was a good time to start some, you know, safety training since we had a whole new staff. They were all new and, kind of timing worked out good and we did have to do a couple things to comply with the Maryland state.
So it's a good time to go ahead and set up those types of things so that we can budget for them in the future, because this is a new world. Storm damages. Donnie had asked that we create a line item specifically for weather-related events when we have large activity on a specific event, that we record those expenses separately. So we're doing that. And I think it helps with the flood committee. And
So I can't picture what this is. So what is it?
It's kind of like when we have like the derecho, or if we had a bad storm and say we had wind damage and we lost maybe like 2 or 3 trees might fall in the town streets. So we got to call a company out, it's blocking the road, and it's, you know, $5,000. And we didn't want to put that in a regular budget line item. So we wanted to track that separate, and that way we can, you know, track, or if we have a hurricane or, you know, something, tropical storm, any type of thing like that. And we flooding, you know, we have a cleanup expense instead of trying to throw that in stormwater, general stormwater fund
Yeah.
or general, you know, tree removal fund.
Yeah, so like,
Yes.
It's like a
Yeah.
weather related or natural.
so it's a fund to pay for,
But just a
clean-
line item to track it more or less, not, yeah, it'll be a fund setup, we'll have a budget item, line item, but it's.
You
that way
track
can
it separately and
better,
then- okay,
Separate from
okay.
regular budget,
makes sense.
yeah.
Thanks.
okay. A16 is a new leaf compost facility at the Public Works area. That's the end of the general fund adjustments. In the sewer fund, there is the transfer to cover the replacement of the monitoring units for the pump stations. And Wheel Tech had provided estimates for that, and Donnie can explain a little more about that if you want. It is I put a $20,000 item as a just in case.
Yeah, we're, as you all know, we're partners with 4 partners in the sewer plant that's located in Chesapeake Beach, you know, us, Calvert County, Anne Arundel County, and Chesapeake Beach. And as you know, in the area, we're getting pretty close to being built out, you know, EDU. So all the sewer flow that goes to the plant, you know, it's called EDU for each house or each dwelling. So it's getting to be pretty close. The plant's getting close to capacity. So everybody's watching their flows, like each town is trying to, and we probably did the most out of all 4 partners as far as being proactive. We're watching the flows from our pump station, how much we're pumping at Chesapeake Beach. And what this is we have the best monitoring equipment that we probably can have, or, updated. So our flows are accurate. So if we go to challenge or somebody challenges us or whatever, we're tracking, we put all new water meters in, as y'all know, a while back. We got all new flow meters at our pump station. That tells us exactly how many gallons we're putting over into Chesapeake Beach plant. And that's how we get billed, or we can challenge them on the billing, is tracking of the flow. So we're putting the most accurate flow together. We're recording all the numbers. We're, trying to do our due diligence to make sure that we're not underpaying or not overpaying, but we're, fair for all the partners. So that's kind of what they have new, the stuff they had would monitor the stations. But like, for instance, just to give you a quick example, when the pumps run an hour and 10 minutes, the old system we had in it would round up. It would only do an hourly reading. The new system we put in, that goes by minutes. So we're reading flow per minute. So instead of losing 10 minutes, gaining 10 minutes, and to have to challenge that with the wastewater plant, now we have a system that does the flows per minute. So if the pump's running, it's adding all the flow correctly, and we feel it's, accurate as we can get. And then that, we know what we're doing. And also it's really good with MDE. Now they're wanting for water appropriation permit. It's called, you're pulling water out of the ground. Water's getting scarce. They want to know how much you're pulling out of the ground. Then they want to know where it's going. So all this stuff we can use to track that kind of data, and we can, show them exactly where we're pulling out of the aquifers and what we're putting to the plant and wasting water. So it makes us look like we're on top of things. And we are.
I believe Don's on top of them. I suppose,
Yeah, this is one. We put the one in already at Greenwood, at Chesapeake Avenue. And that's our largest pump station. And almost all the flow that comes from Calvert County into North Beach, and North Beach's flow goes through Chesapeake Avenue Pump Station, which is located right by Callis Park. The only thing we don't pick up is gravity flow goes from Second Street, the fast stop, First Street, and that just gravities over to the Chesapeake Beach plant. But we do have a flow meter that's been installed right in the location, a little bit past Neptune's, south of Neptune's there in the main line. And what that does, that picks up all the flow that's going from our town and Calvert County over to the wastewater plant.
also, one of those units is for.
Not to keep talking about it, but that one good thing about this, it's not only for that monitoring, but I just want you to know for that price, because that sounds whatever, but they keep the data. If we have a problem with MDE, if we have a problem, they record that data and keep it for 10 years for you. So we don't have to clog up our servers or whatever. You can look online. It's a web-based system. So I can just put in your password, pull it up, and that data is there for 10 years. So we got flows of, it was interesting today. The mayor's actually catching on, because he looked at the flows like, what's going on there? The flows peaked. So I sent him the rainfall data from the days he was questioning, and he got it, pulled it right up, sent it to him. And said, oh, okay, it does show we had, an inch of rain. That's why the flow went up. So you can actually correlate everything. So it's kind of cool when they track it. Like, they keep that data for 10 years. If we have an issue, we can go back and pull it up, and then pretty, good for us.
All right.
Exciting.
That's exciting for some people.
Okay, capital,
It's exciting than a
it
general
is.
budget.
Donnie loves his job. I love hearing him talk, but let's get through
That
this.
stuff fascinates me.
Capital budget, we went through some of these prior, but I need to put them in writing right now. A19, the Bayside History Museum, that was a bond that was, done for the Bayside History Museum for some HVAC work and minor items. That funding was initially supposed to go directly to us, and then we go to Bayside History. What happened was the bond bill went directly to the museum, cut us out, which I am so happy for, that Grace Mary's managing, that it doesn't need to be reflected in our capital budget. Okay,
And real quick, that was Senator Jackson. He came down and said, what do you need? And you should never ask Grace Mary that question. Grace Mary was very open to walk him through the whole building, tell him everything she need, and he came through. So if you see him, thank him. He has done a lot for our town in a short period of time. So
he
Thank
has.
you.
Mike Miller pointed him and going our way. Anyway, appreciate that. Fifth Street Pump Stations, the actual contract was awarded after the budget was passed. So we need to reflect that project in our capital budget. That's what that is. And then, of course, where there's a revenue for the Bayside History, there's an expense. So that was also removed from our capital to reflect that same thing, the bond bill. Those are the adjustments that we're proposing at this point in time. What I was sitting here and thinking was I did not provide council with the Excel spreadsheet, which has more detail with the actual amount for that item. I'll send that to you all so that you can see it. Yeah, and that is it. As far as any questions or anything, I do appreciate the input and get back to me soon so that we're not last minute. I appreciate it. Mayor, that's about all I have for the budget adjustment.
I do want to hit a couple items. And let me get to that point. So when we talk about the security, Joe did hit on top of it, a lot of it, but we also, we adjusted the Wi-Fi up here. We have the security lights around Town Hall that she mentioned. We have the glass, the tinting. We have the Ring doorbell. We have the elevator switch. So we had to step up and make it safe for our staff and our residents that come here. So when you look at that and when you get the breakdown, you'll see all those items to allow that to happen. The legal counsel going up, Joe hit it on the head. That is our environment right now. There's things that we're dealing with right now with our attorney. Either Alyssa or Karen or even Gary, that we never expected to ever go through, but we're going through it and the cost has gone up. Nobody could prepare it for. So I just want to hit that there. Callis Park, even if you just walk through there, it was time. We're going to have all those items, all of our buildings, including the park, loaded onto our GIS system soon. We just got to get up all the blueprints and drawings and then we will have a budget projected hopefully for next budget a little further out so those repairs don't catch us. Building maintenance, safety equipment. Yeah, they had mosh out there. They had legit out there. It's crazy because we did have mosh out there. We had legit out there in the last 6 months. They did training with Chesapeake Beach. We did all this stuff and we still had our issue the other night. It's just like, really? So that's what that is. I just want to make sure you know that. Also, one thing that we no longer do in town, and they've done, we've been cleaning out the storm drains, getting the leaves out. Back in the day, they used to go take all the leaves and put them to the dumpster and then pay for the dumpster to go to the landfill. And I just thought that was crazy. So now what we do is we have that, we're calling it a compost site, but you can't really go there and don't yell at me back there. It's not really a compost site. It's for gardens and stuff. There's not food and stuff going in there because I was corrected the other day. But it is, instead of taking stuff to the landfill, we're going to start being able to provide stuff for our residents on a regular basis, including the mulching of limbs and all this information. So what you see there is the start of something that our residents are going to be able to benefit going forward, to continue to focus on being green. So I think that's exciting. I'm just hitting a 10,000 foot bill. Fifth Street pump. Yeah. You know, we had a grant or we had it and then we went through all kinds of stuff. Then he came back and said, well, we got more money for you. So that's what's in there and everything's moving along well down there. Slight hiccup recently, but we will get through that. I just want to hit those items. Please, anything you have tonight, bring it out, say it out, but please hit Joe up over the next week or even at the next council meeting. I think her and I went through this thing a lot. I mean, we looked at the numbers, we went through the whole, I mean, it's been vetted. So please, if you have any questions, let's pass them on to Joe now. If not, then we will make a motion to adjourn. Any questions for right now? If not, don't.
I just have one. You mentioned that the legal fees hourly rate would go up in 2024. Do you know to what or why or what the rationale is? I thought they went up last year too. Do they go up every year?
I want to say it's, no, they haven't. I think it was 275. It went up to 275 from like
They haven't gone up in a couple of years.
They haven't.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah, I can send you her email.
Okay.
With the, I don't remember off the top of my head.
I mean, it's not until next, budget cycle. I'm curious.
I-
Right?
I think her demand has been high too. That's
Yeah.
part of it.
Yeah.
I think it's right now, if we all work in this environment out there, that I was expecting it because everything else is going up all the way around and her cost has probably gone up. So she did tell us now, which is a blessing that we have that much, and so, but we will get you the documentation.
Okay. Alrighty, Mayor? That's my presentation.
Thank you as always. Any other questions before we? No? All right. Well, it's good to see everybody in the audience. How y'all doing back there? All right, well, if we don't have anything else for the good of the order tonight, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. To have a second? Second, any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 So moved. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, I appreciate it.